Smash Ultimate is a big deal. The build up to Smash 3DS and Wii U wasn't quite this big, and that was a wait 6 years in the making. Ultimate was met with such anticipation and attention that I don't really recall a day that went by without seeing something about it online or hearing something about it from one of my friends. And when World of Light was announced, that was something else altogether. And it wasn't as if World of Light was much of a shock. There was this time during Ultimate's pre-release promotion where they teased the main menu with exactly one section of it blurred out because it was being saved for later. And I think we all knew that it was gonna be the new adventure mode. And a few people have pointed out to me that, yeah, it's actually the Spirit mode, and yeah, it is, but the main attraction was definitely World of Light. The spirits themselves didn't really need an introduction, I don't think, as this game's version of the trophy system from other games, and if anything, I feel like maybe they're kind of a disappointment compared to trophies, but we can talk about that more later. Now, the real thing we were excited for was adventure mode. After Wii U and 3DS's lack of one, there was a pretty big voice to be heard in the community that understandably wanted seconds of Subspace Emissary. It was a good formula that needed some tweaking. It could have been shorter, the maps could have been so much more inspired than they were, and the enemies suffered from the same issues, but you had characters interacting with one another, a story that honestly was really cool, and a fun game for you and a friend. So yeah, we were all excited for whatever the new mystery mode was gonna bring in terms of a new adventure mode. And to be honest, World of Light is a solid mode. It sticks to the focus on fights. Specifically, it mainly reminds me of the main game mode with various small changes to make collecting spirits more engaging and small events on the map that make it more malleable to the player and offer options for replayability. But I have to say, as a Smash Bros. Adventure mode, I think it's a little disappointing. Upon the announcement for World of Light, there was an absolute boom and excitement for Smash Ultimate. Even people who I hadn't really seen engaging with the idea up to that point suddenly seemed to be completely on board. When World of Light was announced, it was announced during a Nintendo Direct. Sakurai did say in the very same Nintendo Direct that World of Light really wasn't about a story and was more about fun, which is great and all, but I feel like it was in poor taste to follow up that announcement with this.
Don't let a single one get away!
I'm not gonna show the whole video, but anyways, I do find it tough to be just content with that. To be honest, I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct. In fact, quite a few people didn't. When World of Light was announced to me and a lot of other people, we were treated to a major narrative moment in the universe of this crossover game. There were character interactions, voice acting, and fluid animation. To top it all off, this felt like a moment that would happen mid-game if anything. It's a textbook false climax. And for those who didn't have 40 minutes to spare that day, a video that was 1/10 the size did the trick. Well, apparently not, because there was some kind of heavy details in there that weren't in the normal trailer. And hey, that's our bad. The information's up for grabs, and that's great, but what's not as great is not including vital information in the actual trailer for your game. While it's not as if the trailer itself says that there'll be an expansive story in this game mode, we are kind of left to infer with what we're given from the trailer, which is hard to do because the official trailer for World of Light clocks in at 4 minutes and 18 seconds. In that 14 minutes and 18 seconds, there was just about a minute, if I'm being generous, of actual gameplay from World of Light. With Smash Ultimate coming out a whole month later, there was probably some time for more promotional material regarding World of Light and Smash Ultimate as a whole, right? Well, yes and no. Of course, TV channels had to air some trailers for the game, and we got one more really cool little cinematic, and that was it. World of Light was the last big announcement we got for Smash Ultimate. And what we actually had to go on was just about a minute of gameplay footage. Most of what we had seen was cutscene footage, and even though 1/3 of the audience was told, hey, this game doesn't focus too much on story, I feel like they would be forgiven for assuming that there would still be some, considering that 3/4 of what we had seen was story. Now if you like World of Light, cool, it's a fun time. But even if you're willing to overlook the fact that it's somewhat dodgy to announce this adventure mode in a story-esque style, World of Light still isn't a Smash Bros. Adventure mode. Melee, Brawl, and 3DS to an extent all had a sort of adventure mode that revolved around traversing a map and then sometimes fighting characters or bosses. It wasn't appealing because players were moving across a map, though there was some of that. A massive part of the appeal was traversing through other characters' worlds, or beating up enemies you saw in Mario, or running along Captain Falcon's racetrack. Or, since Brawl didn't have some of those things, seeing characters interact and fight together on the big screen. I want to know what Diddy Kong thinks of Fox. And I think you do too. So to fans of this series, the two real instances of an adventure mode have included platforming and fighting weaker enemies, worlds based off other characters' games, and in Brawl's case, heavily characterized cutscenes featuring characters you know and love interacting with one another. And maybe I'm biased, but I know that I wasn't missing adventure mode as a whole. When it was announced that Smash 4 wasn't going to have an adventure mode, it didn't bug me. What bugged me was that crossovers literally almost always exist for the purpose of getting to see your favorite pieces of media being able to interact with one another. And technically, I guess seeing two characters beat the life out of each other is an interaction, but it's not the same as seeing all your favorite characters band together and fight against a menacing force. Which, again, technically World of Light does, It just also pretends that you'll get to see so much more than what you can get from other parts of the game. Alright, so imagine if you were watching Disney Channel as a kid, and that episode where Hannah Montana goes to the Tipton Hotel from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was on. But instead of being an episode about how the Sweet Life cast is super excited to meet pop celebrity Hannah Montana, all they do is bump into each other in the lobby. And then Hannah just leaves and goes to some place that isn't in either of the shows. Now imagine if the only scene from the special that was advertised was one of those characters bumping into each other in the hotel. I feel like that's kind of what World of Light does. I feel like another strong example is this sign. Like, I get that almost no one is going to miss the smaller text that says information, and I think that there's probably not going to be too many people who actually fall for this at all, but that's not quite the point I'm going for. This sign is still clearly trying to cash in on Niagara Falls, not Niagara Falls information. And the trailer for World of Light is not much different in my eyes. The lack of information in World of Light, aka the 1 minute of gameplay footage, draws more attention to the cutscene, not the gameplay. Niagara Falls is most definitely where the sign implies it is, it's just also definitely on a postcard. Much in the same way, that cutscene's definitely in World of Light, it's just definitely the only cutscene. Smash 64 didn't have an adventure mode, it had a classic mode. And so did Melee and Brawl 4, to be fair, but I feel like World of Light is maybe a little bit more like that. It doesn't feel like a grand adventure, it feels like a quirky board game version of the special battle from other Smash Bros. Games, except I don't get to control this one. It's like the classic mode being like, oh man, you gotta fight Metal Mario now. Except it's more in depth than that, and Mario actually just wants to throw me around because he's actually Gutsman from Mega Man or something. And hey, that's cool. It's probably not what people wanted or expected when they saw all this, but it's cool. It's new and fun even if it isn't quite what adventure mode was in the older games. Anyway, I think spirits themselves are actually kinda cool. I feel like there's a lot you can do with them, but I also feel that a lot of it's just padding, and kind of sorry padding at that. I don't really need a Tamagotchi in my Smash Bros. Game. It's not gonna make me or anyone else feel better that their favorite character didn't get in the game. But another thing that bothers me about them is that there's such a clear and sorry downgrade from trophies that I have trouble wanting to do anything with them. And I have trouble giving them credit too, because we've already had something similar to that in the form of stickers from Subspace Emissary, and no one remembers them, because they were a little bit stupid. The difference is, Brawl did the idea justice by keeping trophies as well. All that happened in Ultimate is that we lost a mechanic that's been around since Melee, and we brought back a sorry mechanic as compensation. And I'm glad that there's a lot of spirits, but I'm also not glad, because what am I going to do with a bunch of PNGs of Nintendo characters if I don't care about this silly board game? And I think Sakurai explicitly stated at one point that trophies were a lot harder to make, and I think I get that, but I also fail to fully understand. Like, yeah, video games are hard to make, and I certainly hope they are if I'm shelling out $60 for one. I really don't think many people are going to care about this point, but even if the models and such were just hard work, which I kind of get, I do still think I take a bit of an issue with the fact that these are just static images. They're okay collectibles, but like they really can't even give a bio or something about them. Maybe the research part was the hardest. I think there was like 1,300 something different spirits, and I think I'd find that cool if I was a quantity over quality type, but I'm not. A lot of the notable ones aren't even new art from what I can tell, they're just old art that's been repurposed from the source material. It's frustrating to me because it makes me feel that quantity not only took front seat from quality, but it kicked quality out of the car in order to have more space for itself than it needed. A lot of people I've talked to have tried really hard to defend World of Light to me, but it's really no use. I've made up my mind, and I hope that if you were a little disappointed, you have too. A lot of people who try to defend World of Light claim that those things are fine, because Sakurai said formally that it wasn't supposed to be the next Subspace Emissary. But you shouldn't say that and in the same breath show a video that completely defies that statement. Not to mention, an average customer shouldn't be made to spend 40 minutes watching a video to get all the details. And really, that still doesn't excuse my other points. World of Light really isn't what comes to mind when I think of a Smash Bros. Adventure mode, and spirits not only seem uninteresting as collectibles, but completely uninteresting to someone with no interest in World of Light. But hey, that's fine, because Sakurai already said that this isn't Subspace Emissary. But I think it's fair to say that when the hype train hit for World of Light, it wasn't because of that 1 minute of gameplay footage, it was because of the World of Light's opening cutscene. Reaction videos are pretty big on YouTube nowadays, so it doesn't take much to gather people's thoughts on the matter, even if those thoughts are extremely loud and constantly yelling. Honestly, I'm being hard on World of Light, because there's a lot of fun to be had, it's just not really what it advertised. I'd probably enjoy it more if it wasn't opened and advertised with one of the most jaw-dropping climactic cutscenes I had ever seen. I would respect it more if the cutscene was at least saved until when we got the game. Instead, the game mode was heavily advertised using that one piece of eye candy. And plainly speaking, if World of Light in general was not supposed to have a focus on story, I do think that adding a narrative at all was not a great idea. Smash Bros. Has always been innovative enough to be its own story without fleshy cutscenes. The first game played from the angle that a little kid was playing with his action figures, and I did that all the time when I was a kid. I'd make up elaborate stories in my mind and make my Pokemon and Sonic toys fight. It was extremely easy as a kid to reapply the same logic to Smash Bros. In fact, it's probably the only reason I can think of that supports the idea that Smash Bros. Doesn't need a story. It's the story that you can make up yourself. Subspace Emissary was something different and told its own story, which I think a lot of people remember as something really cool and would happily accept another one. I remember a lot of people got upset because Smash 4 didn't have the next Subspace. I don't think it's hard to believe that there was many people who thought this would be the developers making up for that. I also think that Subspace is a completely fleshed out story, and that allows the player to relax their imagination in order to let the story tell itself. And I think maybe that's another thing that I care about a little bit more, and maybe not as many people are going to care about, but when you start a story and refuse to expand on the story, it takes away the creativity in your mind that lets you decide what Smash Bros. Is about. This suddenly isn't a game about whatever you want it to be, or a very specific thing. It's a game about the aftermath of one cutscene, and you don't get to quite know what that aftermath really is. Finally, I think there's a lot to be said about wasted potential. Even if I didn't feel like this was an obvious slight to people who really thought it was something they'd been waiting for, the story is not going to get told again. We probably won't get to know what the weird glowy thing under the Master Hands was supposed to be. Was it the thing from Smash 4? It didn't look like it. Are these Master Hands supposed to be the same as these ones? Probably. Maybe not. What is Galeem and where did it come from? Where's it been this whole time? What's its connection to Master Hands? We don't know. Were the Master Hands always just one big race of creatures that served under these things? Probably not. We probably won't ever have it clarified for us. It's not like Smash Ultimate is a bad game. It's not even like World of Light is a bad mode to play around in. But I do believe the mode was one of the main selling points for people, and I don't think people bought the game thinking World of Light was what it was. And while I think Smash Ultimate deserves a lot of praise for things it does right, no one needs to tell you that. I don't need to tell you that Smash Ultimate is a major improvement on most of the things that the other games tried to do, or that I've had a blast playing it with my friends. I don't have to tell you that this is the largest roster of playable characters yet and that there's something for everyone to try. I don't have to tell you that you should try playing this game if you haven't already. You already know all of these things, and other people are talking about them far more. Smash Ultimate is one of the best games I've played in 2018, even if it was coming right at the end of it. I just think there may be a few people who didn't get what they thought they were paying for, and for that, I do think it's okay to be disappointed. Hey, thanks for watching. I definitely do realize that I have a problem writing clear transitions in scripts, by the way. One time I entered a writing contest, and I remember I got 3rd place, and we got these scores back, and the judges all wrote something on our paper describing why we got that scores, and 2 out of 3 of the judges did really well at explaining why I got 3rd place. So it wasn't like too beat up about it or anything, I remember, but I remember the 3rd judge. All he wrote on my paper, big bold letters, he wrote this with a pen, he just wrote, meanders. I don't know, I couldn't argue with that.